Hello, welcome to the Crown Sterling token holder update call. I'm joined here with Greg Perrin, our CTO, who's sitting to my right, and we have a pretty exciting presentation to take you through. So we'll go ahead and get started. Go to the first slide, please. So basically, this sort of encapsulates how we've been thinking about where a platform needs to go in the future. And I think you're going to be very excited to see the developments of what's been happening. You know that we are in internal beta right now and sort of very soon going into an external and a larger beta grouping. And it's been quite a process to undertake and to watch unfold. It's actually been unfolding quite quickly. Our focus is really on making sure we've got tip-top security and that our platform allows for freedom. One of the big challenges in the world right now is that if a social media platform or a messaging app is housed all on their own servers, then if the government were to come and say, we want to surveil so-and-so, there's a lot of pressure then put on the company to provide surveillance information and go into individual accounts and read their data and allow access to the US government, either with or without a search warrant. And this is one of the big challenges because under the Patriot Act, broad permissions were given the US government without warrants to basically look into people and surveil. The problem though is really around the structure of how it's set up. Being on centralized servers is what really makes it very difficult for companies to say no when they get that kind of pressure from government agencies. And you may have seen very recently as well that Apple is trying to find solutions to this, but anything that is going to be on their servers is going to be subject to real challenge. So we identified pretty early on that we wanted to have a decentralized messaging and social media platform that allowed for decentralized messaging and communication, as well as decentralized storage of your data. One of the big challenges I faced during COVID, the latter part of COVID, was censorship on Instagram. And it was for not even good reasons. It was completely just a bot that had misread a word. And so I got worried because I'd spent so much time and effort building up a significantly sized community that I wouldn't even be able to contact and outreach to that community. So as an influencer, I wanted to have a platform. I started thinking at that time, I made a switch over and got people to come onto Telegram. I set up backup accounts. I set up a TikTok account and everything now as well. And this is all really redundancies because I'm concerned that some capricious error could lead to me not being able to access the community that I've worked very hard to build up. And I thought to myself, I can't be the only person like this. And fundamental to being an American as well is the right to assemble. And today, you could say, well, companies have the right to kind of curtail and to censor people's information because they're held responsible for it, or it could just be the narrative of the company that they want to propel forward in the marketplace. But actually, when everyone is issued the opportunity to have a megaphone, and then suddenly that megaphone is taken away from you altogether because you're deplatformed, or let's just say that you are shadow banned, which happens very commonly as well, then you can start to see narratives play out. And we're seeing this right now play out with Elon Musk releasing all of the Twitter files and the emails that have been going back and forth on this, and that there was a clear agenda directed often even by the White House to say what should be allowed to be on social media and what should not be allowed to be on social media. I fundamentally disagree with this tenet. I believe that intrinsic to our Declaration of Independence, as well as the First Amendment, there's a reason it's the First Amendment of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, is the right to free speech and the right to assemble. This is not some sort of thing that if you Google right now, you'll find that there's like 5 negative articles on why we shouldn't have free speech in America, which is like absolutely asinine to me. But there's clearly a propaganda that has been taught in schools, right? And that has basically infiltrated all the way through universities, et cetera, to now put a negative taint on a fundamental tenet of what it means to be American. So And I believe this is a principle that doesn't only apply to the United States. I believe it's a principle that should apply to everywhere in the world, that free speech is a fundamental aspect of a functioning society that can actually have a way to deal with problems and be able to honestly address issues that arise because of that free speech. So effectively, assembly and choice is critically important. By having a decentralized platform, we don't have the ability, because our whole network will be spread across a nodal network that will eventually have tens of thousands of node validators. And even the keys to all the messaging and everything will be fragmented across all of those different node validators, so that no one person could ever agree and give access to your information. And this is the beauty and why Elon Musk has been so adamant to transform Twitter, because he realizes that any platform that relies on advertising is always going to be subjected to a narrative that's going to be in alignment with the interest of the advertisers, period, whatever that is. So we decided that we would dedicate ourselves to building a platform. I'm very excited because right when I founded the company, this was the exact product that I had envisaged, and we had meetings about back in 2018, late 2018, that we wanted to be the first to be able to do this. And I got deep into understanding decentralization. And interestingly, we ended up meandering and going with business to business stuff and all the other aspects, but now we find ourselves right back where we had always wanted to be, and now the world needs it more than ever. And there is no current platform like ours. So this is very exciting, and I'm excited to share our progress on this. So go to the next slide, please. So the problem is really a gigantic one. In addition to what I just told you about, we're getting a double whammy because quantum computing is now available, right? IBM has announced that they've got their 1,000 qubit quantum computer that is imminent and be imminently released. Now you're starting to talk about scale of qubits that is very, very high. And public key cryptography is absolutely at risk on this. So not only do you need a decentralized messaging platform, but it needs to be a quantum resistant decentralized messaging platform. See, the thing with encryption, if encryption doesn't work, it's literally worthless, right? And, I've said this before, but money has required banks for us to store it and to keep it secure and safe. Property and assets need fences and walls to keep it secure and safe, even that you can lay claim to it. And also, your data, which is the world's most valuable asset, the combination of everyone's data, needs absolutely strong encryption to make sure that it's secured and kept safe, and that you can have claim to it. I was just watching the television show last night, which is kind of like a future reality type thing. It's on Amazon Prime, called Peripheral. And in this show Peripheral, they were talking about how encryption has become such a valuable aspect of society, which I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. And of course, they've got all these eye implants and everything too, that is like, wow, that someone's been like taking a jaunt through my dreams, I think, to make this show, which is kind of trippy. But I really strongly believe that in the future, encryption is going to be the most valuable aspect, because data is going to be way more valuable than anything else. It already is. It surpassed oil in 2018 as the most valuable asset in the world. So we need to get away from centralized data leaks, which are also caused, when you see things like, Facebook and WhatsApp just had a 500 million person breach that occurred only a couple of weeks ago. And why does this happen? Well, because they have the same, if you can believe this, the same key for their block cipher on their AES encryption. So they have the exact same key across the board. So when they lose one file, they lose everyone's file. It's kind of insanity. Whereas if you have different keys, then the most you would have as a risk, from a risk perspective, is you could have one file possibly be lost, but no other file is going to be lost. And that's the advantage of a one-time pad encryption technology, where every key is entirely different for every file. And even every character that you're encrypting is encrypted with a different key. So quantum computing, I addressed already. Consumers' data is now being weaponized. It's crazy how valuable this has become, and we don't even have a clue. When you look at Facebook, if Facebook and the social media companies were required to pay us for the data that they sell on us, just to put this into context, there's no subscription fee for WhatsApp, and there's no advertising on WhatsApp, and yet their revenue is $10 billion a year. Where do you think they're getting that from? They're getting it through the sale of your data. And I've been telling the story about my friend, Scott Baugh, who actually works very closely with us, who ran for Congress and let me know of an app that he has that you can access everybody's political information on. So I looked up my own. I had 56 pages on this app dedicated to me. And they actually went through my position on every single position, including abortion, including how I view China and its relationship with the United States, what my voting record has been, what my address is. It's kind of dystopian, because clearly you can look at it and know my address, and then you can mark my house as being a dissident, which is like really spooky. It sounds like something out of, Handmaid's Tale, but it absolutely is real. And if the last couple of years haven't told us that this type of stuff is happening, then we should definitely wake up. I mean, the funny part is now we're seeing that the people that have been vaccinated are actually having as high a death rate as anyone getting COVID today, which is kind of mind-boggling, right? So we went through all of that for what exactly? I don't know. And now the people that were vaccinated, remember, during that time, we cut off all these people on social media from even talking. It was like a mass literati purge, where people that even brought up the word COVID were sometimes just targeted. And then if they said anything counter narrative, they were banned and deplatformed. Wow. I have several friends that happened to. And now all of that is turning out to have been right. Come on, this is kind of nutty. So there needs to be a platform that is uncensorable. So public key cryptographic protocols are now obsolete. RSA, elliptic curve. If you don't believe me, just look it up. Look up what it says about elliptic curves and RSA and the recent White House's announcement about their obsolescence. And now the governments need to switch. Now, the problem is that 2 out of the 5 different encryptions that were in the finals for NIST actually have already failed on standard computers. Within most of the 2 that got cracked, one was cracked in 53 hours and the other was cracked around 30 hours on a standard laptop. So the solution has to be a true quantum resistance and an uncrackable encryption with perfect secrecy using a reformed information theoretic approach, which is what our one-time pad is. Our encryption serves as the technological foundation across our sovereignty suite. Next slide. So Crown Sterling is committed to providing the next generation encryption required in the post-quantum world. From this, we actually developed our random number generator, which is called Crown Ring and Crown Encrypt OTP. And this is very disruptive technology because for the first time, it's now a one-time pad that can be utilized on top of blockchain. Now, I was shocked to find out that even when I got everyone on my Telegram chat, I got the several thousands of people that came over on my Telegram chat, I thought that all of it was encrypted because that was sort of the shtick and everyone believed it was encrypted. Well, I only found out about 3-4 weeks ago that any messaging on Telegram that's beyond one-to-one messaging, and even that I have to mark it as being a secret chat from the very beginning. And if I don't, none of it is encrypted. Can you believe that? So none of the group messaging on Telegram is even encrypted at all. They have a similar business model, which is to sell your data. It's kind of mind-boggling. And only one-on-ones that I mark as being secret chats are actually even encrypted at all, which is, wow. Go and look for the feature on your Telegram and see if you can turn on secret chat on groups. It doesn't happen. There is none. Next slide. So the markets that we are revolutionizing with this new messaging technology, which is one-time pad encrypted, highly secure messaging in a decentralized blockchain environment,
that we have patented as well. This is now becoming even more and more exciting to me than when we first started, getting into the crypto side of this. So the messaging app market is already close to, $25–30 billion, and it's growing rapidly. Hardware wallets are about 1.7 billion. File sharing and cloud storage is a $200 billion market. Password management is 7.2 billion. And the total addressable market for data, right, is about $2.5 trillion right now. Compression at 1.6 billion, right? And VPN over market. And actually what I would say is that 1.6 billion for compression, that's largely for open source compressions, all of which are just used on things like Zip, et cetera. So that's not really the true market. The true market for compression, for a mathematical compression, it probably dwarfs everything on this slide altogether. The VPN market is 34 billion, and the NFT marketplace is 231 billion, and data brokerage industry is valued at 200 billion. Next slide. So why now? Why is this important now? Well, because freedom of speech is under global attack, from big tech and governments through censorship, cohesion, information asymmetry between consumers and big tech on the value of their data. There's narratives that are being played out. And this is kind of happening at the same time as everyone talking about like a global awakening. And not only is that a spiritual context that reference is made, I believe the global awakening is that a lot of the stuff that we have been told or led to believe is not as it actually is. Surprise, surprise. And I think with COVID, that really highlighted, there was a lot of it that was starting to become visible to the standard, kind of citizen in late, 2018, 2019, but it became really stark in 2020 and 2021. Centralized data servers used by big tech companies are prone to quantum computing hacks and attacks, putting millions of user-sensitive data at risk. It's almost every day that we see a massive breach of data. So that means that everyone's data has been literally stolen many, many, many times over. I believe every single person in this country has been subjected to identity theft. I've had it, I experienced it, and it's one of the hardest things to have to deal with when all of a sudden you get stuff on your credit report that was not your charges at all. And then when you pay them off because you don't want them on your credit report, then that sort of like is showing that you agreed that they were yours. It's a nightmare. Trust me, it's a nightmare. And they tell you, oh, what you have to do at Equifax or at Experian, and I even knew the CEO of Experian is a friend of mine, Victor Nichols. And he's like, dude, I can't help you. The freaking CEO, because I went through this and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. We were on the Chamber of Commerce board together. I'm like, can you help me out here? Because somebody stole my identity when I was in Miami on a business trip. And I knew it was not a good hotel because I checked in and I was standing right next to O.J. Simpson at the check-in counter with his girlfriend who looked just like Nicole Brown Simpson. It was really eerie. But anyway, I should have known that was not the right hotel to be checking into. I should have just turned around then. But what they did is they took my hotel key card, and the hotel key card had all my data on it. Can you believe those hotel key cards have all your data on it? So don't just leave them around. Take them home and cut them up. So basically what we're talking about here is a moment in time where you've got this trifecta, right? You've got this triqueta, which is what's the geometry of those three circles overlapping is. And these three things are coming together to really drive towards a new solution having to be made. And this is why Elon Musk is wanting to have a decentralized social media encrypted platform. We just happen to have built it before they have yet. Next slide. Your privacy and your data is being exploited. Now you could say, but wait, isn't it too late now for us? The data is more valuable as it is real time. So if you notice now, even on your WhatsApp, all of a sudden when you go on WhatsApp, immediately in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see a little tick thing show up that it's tracking your GPS. Do you guys know this? This is absolutely happening right now. So conversations, transactions, and whereabouts. And think about how scary this can be, because someone could buy your location data, and if they wanted to kill you, they could easily find you. The accuracy that this is moving towards is within 1 meter accuracy. 1 meter. That's what they're driving down to. That they would know where you are exactly, whether in a high-rise building or not, within 1 meter of your actual location. This all needs to be protected, in my opinion. And this data is very, very valuable, extremely valuable. If Facebook were to write us a check this year, it would be $2,400. Every single person. Did you know you're spending $200 a month to be on Facebook? It's not worth it. So the only place for true secure communication, we believe at this point in time, is going to be on our platform. Next slide, on Orion. So what consumers really do need to wake up to, if you're not paying for a product, ultimately you are the product. And this is the best chance, I believe, at a true universal basic income. Next slide. Orion, the first quantum resistant decentralized messaging platform. It's the only place for true secure communication. In a censorship resistant platform where speech becomes free again. We're not going to have control over what you say. Think of it more like this is a repository of software for you to utilize to build your own communities, right? And of course, you could be a free agent. You can go and visit, just like on Telegram. It'll be most similar probably to Telegram, except it's actually encrypted. And basically, social influencers can create their own communities, and eventually within those communities they'll be able to even have their own currencies. They'll be able to have their own marketplaces. There'll be no advertising built into this model. That's a fundamental tenet of this. And I could not be more excited about it, because I know many social influencers that would love an alternative. And this one is not only an alternative, but it's a superior alternative. So Tom can now rest easy knowing he has full privacy with Orion app. Orion helps Tom secure his data, and Tom earns extra monthly income from his data. Eventually, where this is going is that when the VPN gets integrated into this as well, which you'll see in the roadmap, then you'll be able to encrypt all of your data, including your geolocation, all of your real-time information and everything, and then capture it eventually where it can be made into an NFT, and you can decide if you want to never sell it or if you want to monetize it. Next slide. So it's a decentralized and quantum resistant encrypted messaging platform. So this works on iPhone, and the first version right now is really just on iPhone, right? We will eventually be launching a version that will work on Android, but because Android has so many different manufacturers that can pair with it, the beta is going to be more complex in that regard. So, that's something that you should know. Our first external betas and first product launch and everything is going to be focused predominantly on iPhone. It's a censorship resistant communication, and it's ready to go solution for both B2C, so business to consumer, and business to business. Next slide. Now, this is the comparative advantage that we see. So if you were to look across all the different messaging apps, right? Telegram, you can see an example. Is Telegram quantum encrypted? No, its encryption is obsolete. Is Telegram, does it have an end-to-end encryption by default? No. Is it decentralized? No. Is a phone number required? Yes. Does it sell your data, or does it not sell your metadata? They do sell your metadata. So you can look at each one of these. Signal, but wait, Signal's better, right? Even though it's a bit slower. Well, now I understand why Signal is better and slower, because they actually encrypt everything. Now I understand why. And I used to think, well, geez, WhatsApp is faster than Telegram, but it's because WhatsApp actually encrypts, but they still scrape your data. right? They get at you through terms and conditions and all this other kind of stuff, or they get at your data rather. But Signal is actually encrypted. That's why it's super slow. The way that they've implemented it. Is the messaging decentralized? No. Is a phone number required? Yes. Do they sell your data? No, they claim not to sell your data. But there's been a lot of discussion about that recently and how they want to move now to a business model. So I'm not sure that that's entirely true, because their CEO is wanting to move towards a business model that charges a subscription. And clearly when they want to all of a sudden start charging subscription, it means that either, you know, they're losing money like crazy, or they realize their business model is not sustainable if the world finds out that they are still scraping your data. And I believe that's more likely the case. WhatsApp and all of the rest, you can see all the reds. Only Orion is green on all of these dimensional parameters, because we designed it to be that way. We designed it very differently with all of this in mind. And I think it puts us in a very unique position just at the moment when the world is recognizing the need for this. Next slide. So our Sovereignty Suite includes the Orion app, a transformative consumer Web3 messaging application for privacy-conscious consumers, a decentralized quantum encrypted censorship-resistant messaging platform for secure communication. And I think the only method right now that will allow influencers in the social sphere to be able to cultivate and create their own secure communities without concern of having to be censored. Now, as the owner of their community, they will have the sole responsibility, along with whoever they appoint as administrators within their communities, to monitor their communities, because someone has to have some responsibility on that. But it's not going to be the realm of the companies to do that. We'll also be launching a hardware wallet for secure exchanges, storing and managing your tokens and NFTs in your hardware wallet. All your digital assets are encrypted and secured in one place. And a quantum encrypted decentralized data storage. Our secure OTP inspired encrypted storage solidifies our existing product positioning and lays the foundation for our compression products. Data compression, very exciting one. You know, obviously an industry disruptive protocol that radically reduces the sizes significantly greater than current standards. And then a quantum encrypted VPN. So VPNs today obfuscate your location, but they don't encrypt it. Ours will encrypt it. And data NFT marketplace. So, and already we've got connectivity that will be going directly into our app that includes like Uniswap access and other decentralized platforms for exchanges. Next slide. So this is our road to quantum sovereignty. You can see Secure Messenger is getting launched, the extended beta, and then actually the commercialization is getting launched at the end of the first quarter. We have the hardware wallet coming in the third quarter, so look for that in the back half of the year, and then secure file storage as well. So this would be, and we'll have Greg talk a little bit more about this. I'd love you to kind of give your context on this, Greg, and why you're so passionate about this. Compression being launched as a product in early 24, the first half of 24. Password manager, VPN, and then NFTs in 25. We actually probably could, with the right resources, accelerate all of these types of programs. But the challenge is also for the market to synthesize it. So you can't just come out. I mean, if Steve Jobs had come out with everything that iPhone does when he first launched the iPod, nobody would have adopted it. It's like confusing to everybody. So you have to do it in a way that everybody can actually synthesize. And the art here is being able to pick the exact and precise timing of the launch of your products at exactly the moment the market recognizes the need for it. Next slide. So our storage architecture. Basically, we have like this whole process. We have a new white paper. The new white paper, we've been sending it out to people, but when does it actually go up on the website?
The official version will go out sometime in Q1. Obviously with being a security first protocol, we want to have third parties come in and audit this and really make sure that we're, in partnership with not only the community at large, but also, the communities that we're building on top of and that are ultimately going to also be building on top of us as time progresses here. We'd really like to make sure that we have some really exciting partnerships with layer one blockchains that are going to be using this and making sure that, everything's audited in a way that not only creates transparency and trust amongst those parties, but amongst the community at large is critical to us, right? So we'll start to release, a version 1 of the white paper in Q1 of next year.
Excellent. Next slide. So we want to go for this strategy to be very successful rapidly. It's going to come down to people just like me,
People that have significantly sized communities that want to have total protection and control, to at least to be able to communicate with their following. One of the biggest challenges is it doesn't matter if you've got, 1 million followers or something on social media. Even the people with 1 million followers have a hard time getting actual reach to their followership. And I already get this all the time. Instagram will periodically decide that if someone hasn't liked my post, they'll just automatically kick them out of my follower list. So I get text messages and DMs from people all the time saying, did you block me or something? I was following you. I never stopped following you. And all of a sudden I'm not following you anymore. What's going on? It's because they're controlling this. And then in the same time, they're replacing them with ad payers. So I was like, I never subscribed to follow Vice magazine. I never subscribed to follow several different things that are showing up on my feed. And I look and I'm like, I'm following this. They're swapping out people that are not liking your stuff. And this is like a service that they're offering. It's absolutely infuriating. And only the people that they want to see your content will actually see your content. And paradoxically, I had greater reach when I had less than 100,000 followers because they want people to get hooked into the system. Then once you get over 100,000 followers, then they think you have money to pay all the advertising. So they're going to limit your reach. So we are going to go after the global influencers, people like myself. Aubrey Marcus is another good example of this. Aubrey just wrote a review on our new book, Neuromind, which is now going to be coming out very, very soon. I'm very excited about that. And it'll be in airports and in the bookstores and airports and everything. And I'm super excited. We had a cool design around it. And I think people that have read the book already, because we had all these people that had to read it for, writing reviews of it, they loved it. So it's been really, really well received. I'm super excited about it. Strategic partnerships, our social reach, already we can access through our different pages, which are all, directly with us and are, in control of us. Really it's all my pages, which are many now on every platform. And then as well as the Lightest Consciousness and Geometria Sagrada, and all their many pages and platforms, which is like Fractal Science and everything. All of those are part of our overall reach, which is now, in the several millions, which is great. And it continues to grow. Every week, my social community that's just under my own name is growing at about, on average, 10 to 15,000 people a week. So that's really good growth as well. It took us 5 years to develop our encryption technologies to be suited for this and to put it on a blockchain. And I'm also excited to say that, we started out very much oriented around Polkadot, but at the same time, and I really like the Polkadot platform, but it became very clear to us as well that we needed to start looking at, okay, how can we, from soup to nuts, have our encryption embedded all across our platform, not just for things like messaging, but for everything, state transition functions and everything. And it became very clear then that we would eventually be best served by having our own entirely native blockchain. And we've been doing this very quietly behind the scenes. And I'll be very happy to give some announcements to you and probably our next subsequent investor call, or not investor, but token holder call, excuse me. I'm thinking of Strathspey, which is, I do have to use that term for there. But at our next token holder calls, I'll basically be addressing this along with Greg. And I think we're gonna have some very exciting news that we've kind of like really jumped ahead of the pack on many, many levels. And this is gonna be a very exciting development for us as well. Next slide. So we've been working with partners who march by our side in the fight for sovereignty. And we believe all of these companies are very much of this same mindset. You know, this has been a very challenging period in the loss of trust that happened, especially in the wake of FTX. We want to be that partner that people know what we stand for, and we're not kids here. You know, I run, geez, we have like 17 companies in our portfolio. And I can tell you that, you know, I've run companies with employees of more than 27,000 employees. There's probably not a person in our industry in crypto, you may know someone, who's actually like managed organizations of that scale. Is there anyone?
No, I don't know anybody.
It takes a different kind of management, to be honest. I had to change my management style. I had to learn how to be a manager. And when I first started my career, I was 21 and I sold a company successfully. And I remember thinking after I sold it, I was like, did I just get lucky or do I not? Because I feel like I can't find my ass with two hands. And I realized that I just didn't know what I didn't know. So I set out on this journey to understand more of what I didn't know. And now I've realized that the more I learn, the less I actually know. But notwithstanding that, what I did do is I went to work for small companies, mid-sized companies, large companies, very, very large companies, at all different levels in the organization across many different, in one company, I was head of research and development. In another one, I was CFO. In another one, a publicly traded company. In another one, I'm CEO, and I've been CEO pretty much consistently now for the past 20 plus years, and president. And it's a different deal. It's not something, if I were to write a book on management and management leadership, it's not some sort of cookie cutter thing. I remember thinking that when I was 25 years old, I went to my boss, who was a Swiss guy. His name was Rodo, and I lived in Australia. And he said to me, he goes, you know, Robert, you've had incredible quality of experience, but you'll realize one day that you'll never be able to make up for lack of quantity of it. It's almost like our experience and our understanding of time as a notion is wholly dependent on our experience directly with it. So if we're 1 year old, then 1 year is a lifetime. If we're 50 years old, then it's only 1/50th of a lifetime. That's why time seems to fly as you get older and older. But experience in life, experience in business is directly dependent on your direct experience with it. And you cannot contextualize it otherwise. So I think what's happened is we've got a very immature industry that's very exciting and absolutely something the world needs at a time that the world needs it more than ever. And so we need to make sure that we have credibility in the things that we do, the things that we actually execute upon, we get them done, we under promise and we over deliver as much as possible, and don't try to worry about, you know, what the public perception of your company is as much as it is you worry about making sure you deliver on what it is that you're saying you would like to deliver upon. Success in business is really nothing more than doing what you said you were going to do consistently. And sometimes that's going to meander back and forth or up and down. You'll go through a sine cosine relationship on anything. But when you can consistently do that, then you will gain traction. And I'm happy to say that within the crypto industry, we're starting to become known for that, for gaining traction and for actually moving the ball down the field. It was exciting for us to be at Decentral in Miami a couple of weeks ago. And all of a sudden everyone's like, wait, you have a decentralized social media quantum resistant platform? Yeah, that's interesting. Really interesting. Next slide. We've gone through a lot of testing and validations, everything, and we're still doing more. We've got one of the world's top cryptographers working closely, with us on all of the cryptographic algorithm stuff as well. And we've got new products that are going to be coming out in the not too distant future to continually improve upon our thesis of information theory-based encryption technology. Next slide. Our random number generator, through multiple tests, which is the core thesis of all of our technology, has passed with flying colors over and over and over again, and multiple reviews, both internal and external, and contractors and experts in this field. That's remarkable, because I remember designing the random number generator, which was driven by machine learning, right? And I designed it over Christmas in 2018. And the exact design that I designed is exactly the same product that it is today. After all of the iterations we've gone through, can you believe that? That's kind of like mind-boggling. If you look at the original position paper that I wrote on it, like I did a white paper on it. It wasn't a white paper, I just did this PowerPoint. But the exact thesis is still the same today. So it's been really exciting, because this is not something that you can easily fake, because it had to go through PracRan. It had to go through Die Harder test. It had to go through U01, right, tests. It had to go through NIST protocols. It's kind of funny. So we have this novel one-time pad encryption technology derived from infinite irrational numbers, discrete photon emission, and novel time signatures. We've got several patents now that are filed. Now, a few have been issued, but we believe ultimately our hit ratio on filing patents and then turning those and converting them into issued patents is over 95% across all the patents that I have. And I have in total I just got two more patents got issued last week. And I have over 50 something patents. I don't even know the count right now. So we've been very successful in patenting things and getting them protected. So we've also filed patents, you can see, on algorithmic compression for computer generated data using novel square root and fractal root methodology. I had the opportunity on Friday to meet with Donald Hoffman, Professor Hoffman at UCI, who is the leading expert in the mathematics of thought and cognitive science. And he brought with him a renowned mathematician named Chetan Salhotra. I spent all afternoon with them. And I loved it. I wish I could share with you, because I have the audio recording of it, but I loved it at the end when they both said, "We are mind blown." Because these guys do some mind-blowing stuff. And they spent literally 4.5 hours with me here on the whiteboard, just going through all of the work that we've been doing here. And it's exciting to see that those kinds of partnerships and validations and publications that will be coming out of it are all happening now as well. Next slide. The white papers, right? So Greg already mentioned the new white paper. I've read it. It's excellent. It's going through, constant rev changes and improvements, because this is sort of an iterative process of reductionism. But it's very, very exciting. And I think when the world fully understands what we have built, everyone's going to be kind of blown away. Next slide. Our team has also continued to be built out. We've got an excellent leadership team. Actually, we should have in this picture, Andrew should also be on there as well. So on the next version of this. I'm really happy with the team. We do have a lot of women also in the company, but we don't have them pictured here. So we need to make sure we fix that too, at least a few of them. So our team is solid and supported by veterans from the world's leading institutions. And I'm happy to say we now have a team that understands crypto too. Next slide. This is our advisory board. And actually we have an extended advisory board, which includes super experts as well from government, from former CIA people that have worked in security fields, Department of Justice and NSA, as well. We have an outstanding advisory board at the Theon organization. And that's our sort of larger advisory board altogether. This has been a very well-functioning, cohesive unit as well. Next slide. So that's our presentation. And by the way, I really like the presentation format and everything, because this is actually going to be kind of like our format going forward. But I'd like to ask you, Greg, to kind of take us, you go back for a second to the roadmap slide.
Oh, yeah. Give me 1 sec. This one?
Yeah, so if you could talk a little bit about both hardware wallet, because this is new for everybody, right? So why are you passionate about this? And secure file storage.
Absolutely. And I'll even start with the messenger just as a brief right now. When we were deciding, I think Robert mentioned this, this concept of developing our own native layer 1 protocol. We started to look at this simply from an applications-based approach. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that we need infrastructure holistically within the company that supports our best interest. And I mean our best interest as in our road to quantum sovereignty, our road to data sovereignty. We need to make sure that infrastructure that we develop best supports this mission. Why did we choose secure messaging first? Why even go for a messenger, right? If you really think about data, ones and zeros, messages are the shortest format of serializable data, as well as the most important as far as quantum sovereignty goes and data sovereignty goes in general, right? Communication is so critical in our day-to-day lives, what we say to each other, both in text, through voice, and in person, right? All of this kind of culminates into the human experience, and ensuring that we're able to protect this in a way that really best fits the mission, right? It has to best fit the mission. Again, we looked at, when we were developing this roadmap and when we were starting to develop kind of some novel concepts around how to bring this mission and this technology to light, the roadmap was so important in deciding, well, what's first, right? The only difference between messages and files is the size. So Messenger came first for that reason, as well as the fact that it's so important, and we feel that it's even compared to file storage today, so much more important for the community to have access to now, given the danger that not just our government but world governments are starting to present to their people and their constituents. Now, hardware wallets, yes, they're especially given this FTX debacle, and I remember a time not so long ago where, it wasn't FTX, it was Mt. Gox, right? A lot of crypto hacks have happened over the years, and we firmly believe that cold storage is the best way to prevent against these. But even in addition to that, right? Let's say I wanted to access my messenger on a different computer. Well, what's a great way for me to do that? It's a hardware key, it's a hardware wallet. Not only is this wallet going to give you access to, kind of the very traditional well-known things such as your crypto and cold storage, which is air-gapped from the internet, and access to trading services that support that air-gapped storage, but it will also give you access to our product suite from any computer in the world. You'll be able to use this hardware wallet as your key to access your messages, to access your secure files, not just on your machine, but on any machine where this is basically going to act as your secure private key into our system. Now, this will not prevent, not having this piece of hardware is not going to prevent you from having access to our products, but it's going to act as another layer of security for those who are minded about this. And especially given the events even of the last month, much less the last years, I think we're going to see huge adoption of this as, really as a product, given the fact that there needs to be a much higher focus and more focus from the community on data safety, crypto safety, and really safety of your money. And that doesn't just come to, if you were affected by the FTX, tragedy, from the bottom of my heart, I'm sorry. It reflects poorly on our industry. It reflects poorly on all of us as a whole. And we need to collectively come together and bring products to market that do a better job at ensuring that the community is protected. Again, I kind of mentioned secure file storage, but when we were looking at feature parity with other messengers, WhatsApp, Telegram, etc., file storage is a part of that. And we, looking at Filecoin, right? Filecoin was the biggest ICO and IEO to ever happen in the space at the time that it was released. Now you should start to ask yourself, and I always ask myself when we were looking at this, why has there not been a service built on top of it that is functional and that works and that has gotten any, market fit or product traction in general? It's because the design is poor. It's because the design and the economics do not match up to the reality of what people expect from this service and what they are willing to pay for this service. Now, even digging a layer deeper and starting to look at the actual infrastructure that needs to support this, 80% of the world's data is cold stored in the sense that it is not accessed often. So our design, our decentralized file storage design, separates hot and cold storage and incentivizes nodes, what we call storage nodes internally, differently to ensure that not only is that data being accessed in a way that's safe and quantum secure, but it's also, we're incentivizing validators in a way that truly rewards for cold versus hot storage and also brings compute infrastructure to market that supports these kind of end goals. There will be a lot more that comes out on this and in the more, or I guess most recent version of the white paper that'll be coming to market during Q1. Going into compression and the password manager, again, all of these, and again, even the VPN is the same way. Obviously we're huge proponents of OTP. We believe that's the cornerstone of a lot of this technology, in addition to, our novel compression. Everything that we build here and everything that we're going to continue to be building here is going to be based on those things, coupled with decentralized compute, right? If you can couple these with decentralized compute, you all of a sudden start to build systems that are uncensorable. We like to use the term unfuckwithable within the business itself, but the entire goal is to be effective.
Andrew, did we get a copyright on that one?
I'll look into that.
What's that, Andrew?
I said I'll look into that. I'll get back to
I
you.
think he's muted from our side.
Oh,
He's not, I think.
he might be.
there's just a
Yeah.
lag.
What, you can't hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
All right, all right, all right.
Copyright hashtag unfuckwithable.
Yeah, I'm looking into it as we speak.
Again, don't get me wrong, like as a platform, we are still going to create, obviously there's a couple big no-nos, out in the world today that are rather taboo to talk about, that we can't have, kind of penetrating the community within, or communities within our product suite. But that being said, we build systems that are unfuckwithable. That is the goal.
Awesome. So I'll take this opportunity, Andrew, to introduce you. Andrew's our general counsel. And Andrew, just tell us a little bit about your passion. You're obviously a lawyer, a very smart and lawyer who also one who likes math, which is very rare. But tell them why you joined us and what you're passionate about.
Yeah, sure. I mean, a few reasons, but the most applicable today is probably I was first getting into crypto in the second half of 2013 as the price was going up. Insane percentages day after day. Same thing happened in 2017. Same thing happened in 2021. What I've learned in all that time is that the valuable stuff stays and lives through those cycles. And really, there's at least 4 use cases for crypto that I feel passionate about. One is store of value, Bitcoin, means of exchange, kind of still up in the air. What I would call developer use cases, which is Ethereum, smart contracts, Polkadot, etc. Solana's trying. And then there's the last one, which no one's really innovated in the way that we're trying to here since the white paper itself, which is the technological use case, the actual rails under which cryptocurrencies work themselves, right? And that's what quantum computers pose this risk to the underlying foundation, the plumbing, if you will, of the entire crypto ecosystem. And so it was very interesting when I came to learn about what Robert and what CSUB and Crown Sterling have been doing to try to solve that problem ahead of the curve, right? Because everyone's now starting to see this attack vector, but they've been on it for a while. So that was one of the things that really got me passionate about joining the team.
Well, and you believe strongly in decentralization as well, in general.
Correct.
Right,
Of
so
course,
you're even writing a book on that topic, which is
that's
I
right.
find-
Yeah, decentralized network systems, some deeper philosophy on game theoretic frameworks. That's my other passion. So that dovetails nicely with, I think I came to that a lot through my interest in Bitcoin from way back in the day and why decentralization and immutability were important to its core functionality are still applicable to how we can bring those use cases into, or those fundamental principles into other avenues, including, as you're saying here, messaging and all the products we're working on.
The sad part of what's going on right now related to FTX is that, you know, that's being lumped in with decentralization, but actually that's a legacy of a centralized system.
Highly centralized.
There's a highly centralized system, right? And even worse than centralized systems that generally have some degree of oversight. It had no oversight.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it attempted to serve the cryptocurrency market, but the organization itself was highly centralized.
Yeah,
I mean, it was centralized to one person,
yeah,
SBF.
entirely. Yeah,
You're beyond.
I mean,
you're beyond,
which Mt. Gox was too. I mean, Greg, you mentioned that. I watched Mt. Gox implode in real time. This feels very, very similar. Very similar.
It does. And, you know, everybody wanted to panic then, and a lot of people want to panic now, but, you know, stay the course. The technology is not going anywhere. And if you truly believe in the technology and believe in the community it serves as a whole, it's, you know, it's a no-brainer to be able to very quickly look past it and look towards the future ultimately and learn from it at the same time.
so I want to address one question that I saw on the chat this morning, and it's about the price of the encryption service, right? So you can think of us like an arcade in a way, right? When you go to the arcade, the only way you can play the machines, and the machines would be the analogy for our products, right? So compression, NFT, VPN services, the messaging, all of this, the only way you can play and use our products is going to be through purchasing tokens that then get used for that product. That serves a purpose for us because we do have a requirement. There are certain countries that we cannot sell into, right? So, and this helps us to manage that. We don't have a specific requirement because we are a true utility. We're a software as a service, but we don't have a specific requirement as like store of values would. That would be things like AML, anti-money laundering, and things like know your customer. But we do have a responsibility more in the realm of know your customer because we cannot have our encryption be sold or utilized rather. It cannot be used by rogue nations. So for example, someone in North Korea should not be able to purchase and utilize our encryption, right? Because there's like 12 countries that are banned from the United States State Department list, right? And we adhered to this. So we did a full, complete analysis on this with the law firm, outside firm called Brownstein. And this is what we came back with very, early into the process. So being able to tokenize our offering is a critical aspect of being able to manage that aspect so that it doesn't end up getting sold into countries that it's not intended to go into. Having said that, now, the way we want to be able to operate this is just like everything else. There'll be a subscription, which then has like an unlimited usage associated with it. And we believe that once the world understands our products, and we're not going to come out with a product unless it really serves a purpose to build up the other products, right? So I always hate putting another product into the list of things because it's like it can dilute your efforts. So they either have to be driving value across more than just the product itself, or it has to be something that is facilitating greater functionality across the platform. For example, compression will certainly be a product that will have an impact on all of the other things that we do, right? It makes everything more efficient. It makes everything faster. Okay, so that's good. Encryption is a good one. Obviously, encryption is going to impact the effectiveness that we have of our VPN, right? So the compression and encryption together is going to make this like an awesome VPN. So this is what I mean. They all have to kind of serve each other. And that's where true synergy sits. So what this means is that I cannot speak to what will happen to the value of tokens. Nobody can. And that's the big mistake that everyone gets stuck into, because you cannot speak about in any speculative way of what's going to happen to the pricing. But what I can speak to is I could speak to the demand. Once the world realizes and understands that quantum encryption is available, and it's not really available anywhere else on a blockchain format right now to be able to use in the unique ways that we have intended to have it be used, I believe that demand for our encryption and our products will dramatically increase. Companies exist so that they can basically serve the demand and serve their customers. Our tokens are just a means for us to be able to create a system that can actually be viable, right? Given all the regulations and rules, et cetera, that are out there. And also,
it's also critical for our infrastructure, right? Or we need to ensure that all of the operators of our infrastructure, which is decentralized, are being rewarded to do so, right? The ability to be able to move a token through a monetary and fiscal system is critical for this. We can't reward validators. We can't reward storage nodes without this system as a whole.
that's right. So where this is going to go, I think, and remember, we only have 10 billion tokens. We have a inflation rate that basically is embedded into it of 3% per annum. But we don't have, the situation where you could just all of a sudden have a massive increase in the number of tokens. It cannot occur. It's not the way that our system is set up, right? It's sort of a fixed thing. So what does that actually mean then? Well, it means that once you have a very high volume that's occurring on the platform, the only way for people to be able to purchase your product, which I believe is in high demand and will be in very high demand across all of those suite of products I just mentioned, then the only way they can do it is to either buy tokens from the company or to buy them in the open market. And there's only so many tokens the company has until those tokens are used. Now, once they're used, they can basically be resold again, just like the government can take in tax revenue and then turn around and use that dollar that it received in tax revenue to purchase goods and services for the government's usage. So effectively what that means is that you'll constantly have a circulation of volume, right, through this system. This was done intentionally. It was done this way because we know that there has got to be a fundamental aspect of this is going to have to be around the volumetric usage of our products and services. We didn't try to tokenize this for anything other than it had to serve a true purpose. And the true purpose had to include node validation and incentives for node validation. It also had to include this control over sale of encryptions and products that might be deemed to be important from a security perspective for the United States government and other government of jurisdiction around the world. And also just for us to be able to manage it in a process internally. It just so happened this was the best way to do it in order to effect a decentralization. So having a volume where the only way someone's going to be able to use our products is to actually require them to purchase tokens, I think is going to do a lot for throughput of volume and ultimately drive the best innovation and the best product level improvements in technology advancements. It becomes a sustainable platform. And this was something that we were very, very thoughtful about from the very beginning. And we're now also employing some economics review
on our efforts as well that are going to, be part and parcel of our effort around the white papers, et cetera, to make sure that people understand the principles that this was founded upon. So with that, are there any other questions that come up?
Nope.
No, perfect. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Very excited for the future. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And I think next year is going to be an outstanding year for Crown Sterling. Thanks.